Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest, reacting to the Toronto Raptors 128-112 win against the New York Knicks. Ryker, another day, another win.
This is my explosion sound because we saw OG and Siakam explode onto the scene tonight. But before we get into it, well, just because it's a Knicks game, not the most exciting thing in the world, we'll address some of the comments, I guess, in the sections of the last podcasts. First being, I'm in Chile for an exchange semester in South America. It's really fun. My Spanish has not improved significantly, though. Unfortunately, I'm still quite terrible, so you won't hear a lot of Spanish podcasts from the Raptors Digest channel yet.
One day.
I need some more practice under my belt first, and then maybe we'll get some Espanol. Get that audience as well. The other thing we've been hearing, and I'm really pleased or really happy that the amount of appreciation that we've got in the comments from all of you guys really listening to the podcast, just trying to give us helpful advice, friendly advice, criticisms. We read it all, every podcast, and get a good laugh sometimes. But we try to take everything to heart. We definitely hear you with all the formatting suggestions, and we are going to change and make more professional, make it more exciting, more interesting to follow along to visually. However, I made the comment, but in case you didn't see it, it's difficult now for Ben and I just because we're super tangled up in all of our personal life stuff. But after Christmas, we have the opportunity to really buckle in and just become the most professional Toronto Raptors page on the internet, right, that you can possibly listen to. So we've been taking in all the advice, and we're going to implement as much as possible. But fortunately, it will be after Christmas. But that's our Christmas present to you guys. Will be a revamped Raptors Digest.
Most definitely, yeah. And keep sending us the advice. We love hearing from you guys. You're the people we cater to. We make the podcast for you. So keep giving us that feedback, and once we get the time and everything, as Ryker mentioned, he's in Chile, exchanging, living it up, and I've been destroyed with school right now. So but once we get the time to buckle down, we'll really get this podcast looking major key. But Ryker, tonight, let's dive into this Knicks game.
Yep.
The boys, they keep on winning, they keep on rolling, and people keep having phenomenal games. Pascal Siakam, to note, 23 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. Just an absolute beast tonight.
He looked like a terror out there because he made 3-point shots tonight with confidence. And Leo said it. We've been saying it. He is a nearly unguardable player once he develops that shot. And tonight, he just did it all.
Yeah.
He really did it all.
Yeah. He's been given the nickname. I slightly gave it to him last season as he started to improve. Giannis Light. And that's what he looks like with his tight handle and his ability to dribble. He's getting to the rim at will because he's so fast, and he's as he gets more in control of his body, we see him going full speed into the paint and doing inside-out dribbles like he's at the three-point line or something. And these spins that he has, Pascal, the past 3 games especially, has just completely exploded. And we say it every game. He gets better every time he steps on the court.
Yeah, and he's really making use of the play time that he's received, and he's being as confident as possible. And tonight we saw that with OG, and I would have almost liked to see OG, well, not almost, I would have liked to see OG play more minutes this game because he sized up his defender. He did dribble moves. He attacked the basket with confidence. He was shooting with confidence as always. I don't think that's ever been an issue. And the more that OG gets playing time, the healthier he becomes. His athleticism is becoming apparent. He's a really exciting player.
Yeah, no, most definitely. OG, 16 points tonight, 2 rebounds. And the thing about OG, I've said it a few times, he's coming off that ACL surgery that was a couple years ago now. This is when players really get back into their own body after that surgery. It takes about 1.5 to 2 years to get that complete athleticism back. We see him dunking on people left and right and driving with that explosiveness. And the thing about OG, which really separates his game from this year from last year, is his handle. His handle looks 1,000 times more tighter. He was training with Michael Lancaster. He's a pretty big trainer a few years back, but he's training with him over the summer on the handle. It's really showing this season.
Absolutely. I want to ask, though, what surprised you about this game, or what might have surprised you about this game? We see really small numbers. So we have this explosion from Siakam and OG, which is great, and really small numbers posted by Lowry and Kawhi, the number 1 and 2 guys on this team.
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't really looking for shots all game. I think Kawhi only took 7 shots. Kyle Lowry only took 6 shots, 50% shooting. Kawhi Leonard, it looked like not a fantastic night for him, but he wasn't, with a superstar, I think oftentimes they expect to get points. They expect the ball to flow through them. But Kawhi didn't seem to be demanding, even when the shots weren't falling for him, because the other players, the Siakams and the OGs, they were playing so well. It seemed like he was letting the offense flow through them because that was their night. Were you surprised by that?
Well, that's the thing about the Toronto Raptors this season. Everyone is completely bought in on winning. Whether it's Lowry, upping his assist totals, being the playmaker, creator, as the dominant ball handler. Kawhi Leonard, only taking 7 shots. Kyle Lowry, you mentioned it. Kyle Lowry and Kawhi Leonard took a combined 13 shots tonight because they saw that everyone was rolling. They didn't need to force their offense, just because it looks better on a box score and it looks better for their MVP chances or whatever. But they saw that guys like Siakam, Jonas, OG, even Serge were rolling, and they knew it was best for the team to let those guys keep shooting, not take away from those shots. And that's the thing about this team. We see it with the center position, with Jonas and Serge, flip-flopping minutes left and right. No one is out here trying to promote their own game. They're not out here trying to win for themselves. They're trying to win for this team. And tonight, the highest minute total went to Pascal Siakam with 28 minutes. Everyone else was below that. No one in this game had over 30 minutes of action, and aside from the end of the game, it was pretty close the whole way. That's how all around this team is, and it's going to benefit us long term.
Yeah, and you say 2 things. One, yes, you're right. No player seems to have their own personal agenda when they're out there on the court, which is fantastic. Everybody is supportive, even on the bench. Even guys like Moose and who else? Malachi Richardson. They seem to be really engaged in the game, even though they know that they're not going to play. Another thing, I think it will definitely hurt the MVP chances for the 2 candidates in Lowry and Kawhi if they are willing to sit back, right, and have these smaller games, because I think that the box score numbers do need to be there, because of course not everybody is going to be tuned into these games to say, oh, okay, they didn't play complacently, they were allowing other players to step up. But that's not the worst thing. The Raptors don't need an MVP on the team to be legitimized. They just need to win in the playoffs. And I think the third thing about minutes tonight, I think this was a perfect opportunity in a game that's closer, in a game that you play against a team with a superstar, such as the Bucks, if they had Giannis. Then you're going to be relying heavily on Kawhi Leonard, right? But in a game that there's really an all-around young team, the Knicks haven't figured out how to bring it together, but they do have guys like Noah Vonleh and the French point guard, I don't know how to pronounce.
Tim Hardaway Jr.
Tim Hardaway Jr. is fantastic. Kevin
Phenomenal
Knox.
night for him.
Mudiay, he had a really good night, yeah. Zonia, they have a lot of players that, they're deserving of their own respect in some ways, but they're not high level players yet, so you're able to play your whole bench, you're able to play OG, and everybody has a little something that they can bring to the table. You don't need to rest on Kawhi Leonard because there's not a big matchup that he needs to shut down for the whole game, except for Hardaway Jr., who has always been good against the Raptors.
No, most definitely, and we have that depth, and it gets everyone's morale up. These are the games that you get everyone cooking, and I was hoping it was going to get CJ Miles rolling a little bit, but he only had 6 points. His defense was actually pretty good tonight, but 1 for 5 from the 3-point line. We just can't get this GoDaddy curse away from the Toronto Raptors. This year it's plaguing CJ Miles. He got some serious run tonight. What needs to change for CJ Miles to really get his 3-point shot back? Because if we get another just knockdown shooter like Danny Green or even OG on this roster, it's going to be even more over for the other teams in the league.
Absolutely. To get it going, he needs to get better shot selection. And perhaps last year it was more luck or more the confidence being swept up by this exciting Raptors team. And now that he's, settled down and adjusted into the lineup a little bit more. It's sort of catching up to him that his positioning and the way that he releases his shots, his off-balance shooting, it makes sense that he's missing, right? It would need to be a very special player to be able to consistently make the shots that he's taking, right? You'd need a Steph Curry in order to hit these off-balance shots. And even Steph Curry takes shots when he's set, he's square to the basket. I think CJ Miles, the best play that he had of the game, he did a fake and took his man off the dribble and then did a pull-up from the elbow. And that was very nice form. He was square to the basket. I think he's either going to have to realize that he doesn't need to take these very fast, terrible three-point shots. They're basically terrible three-point shots, right? The offense is good enough that he can get open buckets, or he's just going to have to start relying on being a more versatile player, taking it into the lane maybe and dishing it. I know we really only want him to be a 3-and-D guy, but if he can expand his role a little bit and get confidence back and then step out to the three, I don't think that's the worst thing for him.
Yeah, you mentioned it, because he starts off every game just taking these weird fadeaway threes that are contested. He's coming off screens and he's taking these shots that are just with hands in his face, and then the open ones just aren't there because he's not in a rhythm at all. So maybe, as you mentioned, going to the rim, maybe shooting some more mid-range jump shots. It's something that we've seen from Ibaka, which has really helped him this season, and even his three-point percentage is a little bit better for Serge, as he's in a rhythm when he's shooting those threes. He's not making that spark his offense. So maybe that could be the case with CJ, and I just really want to see this guy get into a fluid role with this three-pointer, because I think it could even make us even more unguardable as a team. But a guy that really had the threes cooking tonight was DeLon Wright. He finally looks healthy. He finally looks back in the swing of things. His defense is ridiculous. With Norman Powell out, DeLon Wright has really stepped up his game the past few games.
Yeah, this is his opportunity to leave no spectrum of doubt in my mind, the coaching staff's mind, and anybody's mind that's watching the Raptors that he's the better player than Norman Powell. I think he is going to assert himself as that. I didn't think that he had as good of a jump shot as he did, but his stroke looked really clean today. It looked like a really good technique. And if he's shooting the ball with confidence, then he's another player that's, difficult to guard, I think, because of his length, because of his IQ. He has a really good set of handles, and he can get into the lane. So it's good to see him shooting so well.
Yeah, most definitely. But a guy that has not necessarily struggled, but hasn't really looked like himself since last season, despite still having a very strong impact on the game, is Fred VanVleet. And his jump shot's been a bit all over the place this year, but he hit one tonight. He banked in 1-3. But what were your thoughts on Fred VanVleet as well? 7 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. He still has that control of the game that we love to see from Fred, but his scoring and his offense looks a bit forced at times, in my opinion.
No, it's true. It's true, but he's still steady Freddy. He's going to give you what he's going to give you, and I think that having him on the court, his leadership is always a positive thing for the Raptors, and it really was the bench unit that brought to life this Raptors team in this game, and so I think it's hard to criticize him. Of course, the scoring isn't there last season, but sometimes players can have that, one really good stretch, and then they can kind of recede into like a little bit less than, and I don't think that that's the worst thing. Obviously, it's not the best thing for his personal career, but for the Raptors team in general, they don't need him to be Jonas Valanciunas on the bench, getting, a double-double, 15 points, unlimited minutes. Exactly. That was beasting. But with VanVleet, 7 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, dictating the game, keeping everybody with their heads in the game, passing the ball well, I think that's enough. That's enough for his role. And if he gets any more production from Fred VanVleet, then it's just even more positive for the Raptors. But it's not something to worry about, I don't think.
Most definitely. And we know Freddie's going to get it back. He's too steady. He's too good to not get it going, because he's still doing the right things on the court. It's almost the same thing as Lowry when he was injured playing in those playoff series a few years back when the jumper really wasn't there. He's still doing positive things on the court, and that's what we're seeing from Fred. He's like if Fred VanVleet starts taking charges, I'm gonna call him Baby Kyle Lowry, because he's just feeding off everything that Kyle does. Obviously, Kyle's an all-star, does everything at a crazy high level, but I'm really excited just how this team flows. Jonas Valanciunas, you mentioned it, 19 and 10. the Jonas surge, it impresses me on a crazy level how efficient they are in such few minutes compared to other centers in the NBA.
The big men are playing amazing. We talk about this every time, that separating them not having them on the court at the same time is the best thing that Nick Nurse could have possibly done for promoting the best out of both of their games. We'll swing it in for it's way, 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 way too late into the segment pieces. You can start us off.
For sure. Tonight, the Kawhi You Do 'Em Like That play of the day. It's going to our boy, CJ Miles. We wanted him to get back into the swing of things on the threes, but tonight he was looking like Steve Nash, looking like Jason Williams out there came down the court on the fast break, threw a behind-the-back pass to DeLon, I believe, who swung it over to OG for a nice little and-one lay-in. CJ Miles, maybe without the three-point shot, he's going to turn himself into a passing machine. Do you think that's the future role for CJ Miles on this team?
No, I don't think that we're going to see much more highlight reel passing from CJ Miles, but it's fun, with that little razzle-dazzle, that little bit of shine.
Yeah, most definitely. So that's the Kawhi You Do 'Em Like That play of the day, but not all plays can be the Kawhi You Do 'Em Like That play of the day, and some just make you say, oh, geez. And tonight, the OG's play of the day, it's going to Jonas Valanciunas. At the end of the game, he was beasting and feasting all night. We were up by about 20 points in the fourth quarter, and a Knicks, I believe, rookie was blocked JV shot and was talking some smack, and JV said that, this is foolishness. Possession later, came down, banged a staple in JV's game, one of those threes, the death taxes and JV threes. Came back, had a little celebration. It's always great to see JV shut up some other guys on the other team with a silky tray ball.
Yeah, it's perfect. His attitude is hilarious on the court when he gets upset or when he gets inspired. Jonas Valanciunas, great to see him respond out there, especially after getting completely swatted on a fadeaway jump shot. So my heart is completely with you in picking that one.
Yeah,
gotta love JV's threes.
Most definitely. JV is quite animated on the court when he's playing. Likes to throw the hands in the air. Kind of got those Jose Calderon vibes to JV when he's playing. Always being dramatic with refs and all that sort of stuff. So great to see JV playing out there like that. And finally, the DeMar Carroll Gold Star Award. The Raptors have been playing so well. It's been tough to hand this thing out to Raptors players, and a guy that you wouldn't expect is getting it from me tonight at least. It's Nick Nurse. Not because of anything he did properly. Not because of, schematic things or, we love what Nick Nurse is doing. He's getting the most out of all of our players, but at the end of the game with 2 minutes to go, we were running so I don't know how the substitutions work, but JV and Greg Monroe were on the court together, and we were running this 3-2 zone on defense. And we kept scoring buckets, on the other end. We're up by 20 at this point, so it would have been a fun time to test some stuff out. And I was really interested to see how this lineup with two centers, because JV and Greg Monroe, even in the old NBA, are the two real centers, big lumbering guys on this Raptors team. As Serge Ibaka's a new age center, but he was a power forward, can play it, but I wanted to see how the two big guys looked on the back of a zone and JV running around the three-point line with 2 minutes left. But Nick Nurse only left that lineup out there for about 2 possessions. So I wouldn't want to see it during mid-game action unless it's got some run, got some tests. But I was getting excited when I saw Moose and JV out there running the back of that zone. It was kind of a freaky sight.
Yeah, no, I think I certainly agree with you, but we're not going to see it very much. You're definitely right about that. It's old age NBA, and I think it's risky to leave a player like Jonas out because he's an integral part of this team in the garbage minutes. You never want to see a player get injured when there's no purpose of them being out on the floor. But you're right. It could have been an interesting way to seal out the game.
Yeah. No.
JV
running around the 3-point line, playing a wing position. That had me excited. It had me excited. Mm-hmm. Nick Nurse, DeMar Carroll Gold Star for giving me that excitement and stripping it away in the last 2 minutes of the game. Anyways, Raptors, another big win. You guys are the best for listening this far. The boys keep on rolling. We're going to keep up in the podcast game, as we mentioned at the beginning of the pod. So keep sending your suggestions. Check out the Twitter, the Instagram, all that cool stuff. And any last words, Ryker?
No, Nope. When will the Raptors lose next? That is the big question. So
3 years
we'll
from
see.
now.
I hope so. All right.
For sure.
Cheers.
Peace.